Okay, let's get into this. Have you ever thought about those places where people seem to not just live really long lives, but also really happy, engaged
You
ones?
mean like Okinawa in Japan?
Exactly. That's where today's deep dive takes us, looking into the wisdom from those islands.
We're drawing mainly from sources looking at this whole idea, especially the book Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life.
Right. And our goal here is to really unpack what Ikigai means. It often gets translated as like a reason for being.
hmm And see what these sources actually suggest about how you might find that sense of purpose in your own life, wherever you happen to be.
Because it suggested that the sheer number of centenarians there, it's not just about genes or what they eat, although that's part of it, sure.
Yeah, there seems to be something more fundamental, almost a philosophy, shaping their daily lives.
And understanding that deeper part is really key, isn't it? The sources are pretty clear. This isn't some simple checklist.
Definitely not. It's not like a formula you just calculate.
Right.
It's woven into, well, everything.
So maybe you've seen that Venn diagram for Ikigai floating around.
Oh, yeah, the four circles, what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for.
Right. And it's a decent starting point, gives you a way to think about how things might align.
It absolutely does. It provides a framework, a way to start thinking about those different aspects.
But
But, and this is where the sources really take us deeper. They stress the nuance, and the fact that it's a very personal journey.
to less like finding one specific thing.
Exactly. Less like pinpointing a single fixed destination, and much more like a path that you walk, something you keep discovering as you go through life.
That shift in perspective feels important. The
Yeah.
sources really drive home that Ikigai isn't the static thing you just find.
No, it's about the process, how it evolves with you. And one of the really fascinating things from the Okinawan lifestyle described is this idea that kind of pushes back against standard retirement.
Right, the whole anti-retirement concept.
The people described in the sources, they don't really seem to hit a point where they just stop doing things, stop
They
contributing.
just keep going, doing things they love, staying involved.
Mm-hmm. Staying active, engaged in their community. And often it's not about the money. It's because it brings them joy, gives them meaning. That constant sort of gentle engagement seems fundamental.
And that kind of continuous engagement often leads them into a state the sources talk about a lot. Flow.
Flow, that state where you're just completely absorbed in something.
Yeah, you lose track of time, you're not worried about other stuff, you just feel this deep satisfaction from the act itself.
The sources really point to that feeling as strong clue that you're doing something deeply connected to well, your reason for being, your ikigai.
And you've definitely felt this, right? Maybe when you're deep into a hobby or solving something tricky or creating something.
Or even just having a really good conversation sometimes.
Totally. That feeling of being completely present, losing the clock, that immersion, the sources say, is a big signpost towards your ikigai.
So actively looking for and making space for those flow triggers becomes a really practical thing you can do.
Okay, so beyond what you do individually, there's another huge piece highlighted in the sources: community, connection. They talk about moai.
Moai, right.
Right.
What exactly are those based on the sources?
Well, they're described as these informal social groups, like a support network.
Often built around shared interests or just geographic closeness,
Yeah.
providing mutual support, social, emotional, sometimes even financial help.
This really strong sense of belonging, having these deep ties throughout life, it's presented as absolutely central to their well-being.
And it makes sense, doesn't it? If you connect this to wider research, strong social bonds consistently pop up as being linked to happiness, health, longevity.
Yeah.
It really backs up the Okinawan model. It's not just a nice to have.
No, it seems vital. Being part of something, knowing people have your back and you have theirs. Okay, so we have the individual flow, the community structure. What about daily habits? The sources mention specific practices too, right?
Yes, absolutely. Several things support this whole lifestyle. There's the mindful eating aspect, like harahachibu,
Which means
eating until you're about 80% full. It's not just about calorie restriction. It's about awareness, checking in with your body,
yeah.
not just mindlessly overdoing it.
And their diet gets a lot of attention too.
Mm-hmm. Largely plant-based, lots of vegetables, antioxidant-rich foods. Then there's movement, gentle, consistent, daily movement.
So not necessarily like intense workouts.
Not necessarily. More like gardening, walking, just incorporating activity naturally into the day. And crucially, resilience. The sources talk about building that mental toughness.
Being able to handle life's curveballs.
Exactly. Facing challenges without getting totally thrown off course, finding your way back to balance and purpose even when things get tough.
Okay, so we're seeing the philosophy, the community, the daily habits. It all weaves together. But for someone listening, thinking, okay, that sounds great on an island in Japan, but how do I actually use this? How do you start putting Ikigai into practice?
Well, the really encouraging thing, according to the sources, is that you don't need some massive life upheaval. You don't have to move. It genuinely starts with small, consistent things. Introspection and action.
So, what are some of those small steps the wisdom suggests?
It starts with asking yourself some reflective questions, but, gentle ones.
Yeah.
Like, what activities just make time disappear for you? What did you really, truly love doing as a kid before all the shoulds of adult life kicked in?
Okay.
What leaves you feeling energized after you do it, not drained?
Mm.
And maybe on the contribution side, what's one small thing you could do today that makes even a tiny positive difference?
They're not questions looking for one perfect answer.
Not at all. They're more like little keys, ways to unlock clues about what really resonates with you.
That feels manageable. Starting with clues. Another idea I mentioned is this beginner's mind. How does that fit?
Ah, the beginner's mind. It's basically about approaching things, new things, or even old interests with curiosity, openness, without judging yourself.
Letting go of needing to be an expert right away.
Precisely. Just embracing the process of exploring, learning, trying.
And how does that help you find your Ikigai?
Well, if you approach things that way, you're much more likely to try stuff you might otherwise avoid, maybe because you're scared of failing or not being good enough.
Opens up more possibilities?
Exactly. You might stumble onto something that really clicks, something that triggers that flow state, or connects you to a need you feel passionate about meeting.
Which loops back to identifying those flow triggers we talked about. The sources suggest that once you notice what gets you into that zone,
You consciously make more time for it.
yeah.
Actually schedule it in, protect that time.
And then there's building your own moai. Maybe not the exact Okinawan version, but the principle.
Totally applicable anywhere. It means actively nurturing your existing friendships, the deep ones, and also seeking out new connections.
Finding your tribe, basically.
Yeah. Through shared interests, join a club, volunteer somewhere, take a class, find a hiking group, find people who lift you up who share parts of your journey.
And weaving in those mindful daily habits we mentioned.
Doesn't have to be complicated. Maybe just 5 minutes focusing on your breath, or really tasting your lunch instead of scrolling,
A short walk outside.
or just taking a moment here and there to notice small things you appreciate. These little practices build that awareness, that resilience. They support your connection to what matters.
And a really key piece seems to be never stop learning.
Keeping your mind active, reading, picking up new hobbies, learning new skills. It keeps you engaged, curious, adaptable.
Which raises an interesting question, doesn't it? How do you actually weave all this in the flow, the community, the mindfulness, the learning, without it just feeling like another to-do list?
That's the million-dollar question, perhaps. And the emphasis in the sources seems to be less on achieving perfection and more on small, steady steps. Finding ways these things feel less like obligations and more like, well, like living, like natural parts of who you are.
And to make it more concrete, the sources share stories, right? Examples of people living their Ikigai.
Yes, they do. It helps to see it in action. Like, they might mention a passionate teacher.
Someone who clearly loves sharing knowledge, is good at communicating it, and is meeting a need for education. Their Ikigai is right there in the classroom.
Or maybe a community gardener. Someone who loves being outdoors, has the skills to grow things, and provides food and connection for their neighbors.
Or even an artisan baker.
Right. Passion for the craft, honed skill, and providing something simple but essential and enjoyable for the community. These examples show it's often that blend.
The blend of what you love, what you're good at, and how it connects to the world around you, even in small ways.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be some world-changing profession.
So pulling it all together, this deep dive into Ikigai, looking through the lens of the sources from Okinawa, it really suggests it's not about finding one single massive purpose drop from the sky.
No, it's much more about finding alignment in your everyday actions, connecting with joy, using your skills, nurturing your connections, contributing in ways that feel meaningful to you.
It seems fundamentally about cultivating that inner sense of fulfillment and just staying engaged with life day by day.
Through the big things and the small moments, the passions and the mindful pauses.
It definitely offers a powerful way to look at your own life. And the sources kind of leave us with this thought, this question to ponder.
What is your reason for being? What gets you up in the morning?
And maybe the journey of exploring that step by step is actually the most rewarding part. Perhaps that is the Ikigai.